Prediction time. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Wilder, if you've been paying attention to most of his fights, is a guy who always tries to minimize the amount he gets hit. There are relatively few Deontay Wilder fights where he just walks forward and takes shots on the gloves to get his own shots in. There have been some, most notably the Gerald Washington fight, and even where are we at now? Kelvin Price fight. He did the same there. And we do have to pay attention to those fights because they were against tall opponents. Gerald Washington, about 6'6", and Kelvin Price, 6'7". So it's possible that he could fight that way against Fury, that he could walk forward and take shots on the gloves and try and get his own shots in. If he does fight like that, I think that's playing into Fury's hands. I'm not saying he can't win the fight that way, because he has the kind of punching power where whether he's going forwards, backwards, or he's at long range or mid range, he can knock you out if he lands clean with that right hand. So I'm not going to dismiss his chances completely fighting that way, but I do think it favors Fury stylistically if Deontay Wilder is coming forward with his hands up and is there as a ready and available target. If you look at Deontay Wilder against Luis Ortiz, Stavern, Areola, Spilka, even Duopa, who's a tall guy, maybe not so much Molina because he did get hit a bit in that fight, but if you look at Wilder in a lot of his fights, he tries to stay away and wait for the opportunity to land the big right hand. And I've looked at Deontay Wilder's training footage for this fight. I saw him moving around with Malik Scott a few times, and he appears to be training to sync himself to the rhythm of Tyson Fury and also stay on the outside. Deontay Wilder can't compete with Tyson Fury in terms of boxing skills, but one area where he can compete and maybe exceed Fury is in athleticism. You see, there have been fighters throughout the years who, with their superior athleticism, have been able to overcome more skilled opponents. People like Roy Jones Jr. spring to mind. Even someone like David Haye, who patterned his style on Roy Jones Jr. He was a guy who didn't really like to box with you. He didn't really like to play, you throw this shot, I'll block it and counter with this shot. He wasn't about that, David Haye. David Haye was about using his athleticism, circling around the ring, and just being quicker on the draw, like a gunslinger. You see, as you go for your pistol, he hits you with 2 shots first before you get the chance to draw it. You see, so he wasn't really somebody who would like to play or who would like to box with you. He would just try and out athleticism you, to use a very clunky term. So I suspect, when we're doing predictions, it's all about probabilities, because none of us know for certain, unless it's a totally one-sided affair on paper. You're fighting a journeyman who's got 1 win and 50 losses, and you're 40-0 world champion. Right? None of us know what's going to happen. Our predictions are educated guesses. And when it comes to making predictions, I try and evaluate and weigh up what I see in my head as the most likely scenarios. And for me, in my head, from what I can see of what Wilder's done in previous fights and what he's been doing in training, I think the most likely scenario is that he is going to try and use his athleticism to make Tyson Fury miss, to stay out of the way and bide his time and wait for an opportunity to strike. Maybe even wait for Tyson Fury to expend some energy in the early rounds, for his legs to slow down a little bit, and then to lower the boom and take him out late. So that's what I think Wilder's going to do, is he's going to try and actually take Tyson Fury's jab away. And as I say, he's a guy who has a history of being patient in fights. In the Luis Ortiz fight, when did he drop Ortiz? Was it the fifth? What's it say here? Yeah, he's down in the fifth. So up until the fifth, there was nothing much happening in that fight. Wilder was very patient. He wasn't doing much. In the Artur Spilka fight as well, that fight went late, ended in the ninth, and Wilder seemed in no real rush to get the fight over. He was very patient, waiting for the shot. And some people even feel like Deontay Wilder was behind in that fight. So he has the patience to wait and wait and wait and play that game of hold your nerve and see who cracks first. And given the fact that he is the champion, given the fact that he's fighting in his home country, and I know he got booed at the weigh-in, but he's fighting in his home country. He's got Showtime behind him. He's got Al Heyman behind him. If this fight is a low volume fight where neither man is landing a lot of shots, I think that tends to favor Deontay Wilder, because you know the old saying, you have to take the title from the champion. You can't steal it. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but what I am saying is judges often think that way, that you have to take the title from the champion. And so, like I say, if this is a low volume fight, and I think there's a good chance this will be a low volume fight. I don't know for certain, but I do think there's a good chance based upon their styles, based upon the way Wilder has fought many times before in the past, based upon the fact that this is definitely one of, if not the toughest opponent he's faced so far in terms of on paper. I think there's a good chance it's going to be a low volume fight. Tyson Fury, when he fought Klitschko, it was a low volume fight. I mean, several of Tyson Fury's fights, let's have a look at his record here. Several of Tyson Fury's fights have been relatively low volume. Now, some fights he does let his hands go and throws combinations, but unless he feels desperate in this fight at some stage, then I don't know whether he's going to be letting his hands go like that. Because he knows, well, he should know, the danger that Deontay Wilder poses with that straight right hand. So he's going to be, I'm not sure if he'll be as wary of Wilder's power as he was of Klitschko's in the early rounds, because he seems to be quite dismissive of Wilder from what I've seen. And again, I have to ask the question, does Tyson Fury fight better when he is the underdog, a substantial underdog? He's the underdog in this fight, but only marginally so. The bookmakers have got it very close in terms of the odds. Last I checked, as I say, Deontay Wilder was a marginal favorite, but does Tyson Fury fight better when he's being written off? Does he fight better when he feels like the world is against him and he's got a chip on his shoulder? Some fighters do. You know, it's like in football, you get certain teams who play better away from home, because away from home, the weight of expectation isn't on them. Sometimes fighters need to feel like the world is against them to bring them, you know, different fighters have got different types of mental makeups. So it remains to be seen whether Tyson Fury can box to his best when he's happy and he's got so much support. Maybe he'll box even better with all this support than he did against, you know, previous opponents where he didn't have so much support. We'll see. But there are a lot of questions in this fight, and that's why the odds are so close with the bookmakers. One, because of Tyson Fury's layoff and inactivity and the general feeling that we don't quite know where he's at. But also, you know, like I say, the intangibles. We don't know how these guys are going to box, how they're going to react to each other's power, what tactics are they going to use. So anyway, long story short, I think the most probable outcome in my head is that this fight goes long. Yes, I know Wilder's got the power to knock Fury out early. And if Fury makes one mistake, he could find himself on the canvas in the first round. Never mind the fight going late. I'm very aware of this. But in my head, if I'm thinking about, if these guys fought 12 times, you probably get 12 different results. Or maybe 8 different results. It's not going to be the same result every time if they fought 12 times. So you have to bear that in mind. But I think the most probable result is that the fight goes long and that Deontay Wilder actually becomes more dangerous in the later rounds than he is in the early rounds. Because I think he's going to be patient. You might even hear a few boos here and there at certain points in this fight. Yeah, I think it's going to go long. I think it's going to be a fairly low volume fight for the most part. I reckon there'll be explosive moments because Deontay Wilder is a very fiery character and so is Tyson Fury. So I think explosive moments are inevitable in this fight. But for the most part, I think it's going to be fairly low volume. Wilder trying to minimize the amount he gets hit. Just looking for 1 or 2 shots here and there. Fury might decide to box southpaw. If Fury decides to box southpaw, will Deontay Wilder be more or less aggressive? I suspect less early on. You know, Tyson Fury said himself that he will know within the first round if he's going to win the fight or not. And I think a lot of us feel that way. When we look at the movement, when we look at the speed of both men, the hand speed and the foot speed and the body language, the reflexes, that's what we want to see in the early part of this fight. And based upon that, I think we're going to make our minds up fairly early on. But yeah, I reckon the fight will probably go late. Wilder will become more dangerous the longer it goes. He might get outmaneuvered by Fury early. But as I say, I think he's going to try and minimize the amount he gets hit. And Wilder's somebody who doesn't get hit that much in fights, people. Generally speaking. There's been a couple fights where he's got touched. But when Wilder decides that he wants to be defensive, he doesn't get hit that much. Admittedly, he hasn't been in with a 6'8", 6'9" guy with Tyson Fury's skills before. So perhaps even if he wants to play defensive in this fight, he'll still get hit. It remains to be seen. But yeah, I think the longer it goes, the more dangerous Wilder becomes. Tyson Fury might at some stage have to switch up his tactics. He's been talking about knocking Deontay Wilder out. Is he going to come out all guns blazing in the first round, attacking, like the way he did against Steve Cunningham? If he does that, it's a very, very risky strategy. And that will play into Deontay Wilder's hands. He'll be able to get that big right hand off a lot of times, and he's going to be hitting something. Whether he's hitting, Tyson Fury's gloves or arms or his body. And Deontay Wilder did mention going to Tyson Fury's body, by the way. We'll see whether he follows up on that. Some people tried to pull me up when I said that Tyson Fury is not really a prolific counterpuncher. But he really isn't. He does throw counters, but he's not a guy who you think of, oh, great counterpuncher. He throws little counters here and there, but Tyson Fury primarily is a guy who likes to dictate the action rather than wait for you to do something and hit you. He likes to be the ring general, hit you with a jab, move around, walk you onto shots. But in terms of standing there, letting you throw something and then countering with a certain shot, or you're standing there waiting for you to throw a shot, slipping it and then countering. He does it here and there, but that's not really his main game, in my opinion. So I don't see him doing that against Wilder. If he comes out, applies a lot of pressure, I think it's going to play into Wilder's hands, to be honest with you. Some people have talked about the weight difference and that Fury might be able to wear Wilder out on the inside. Yeah, possibly, but to get that close to Wilder, he's going to have to walk through a shooting gallery, a firing range in order to get that close to Wilder, where he can lean his body on him. And is Tyson Fury the physically stronger man? I would say yes, he is. But Deontay Wilder is also very physically strong when he gets his burst of adrenaline. When he hurts you and he gets this burst of adrenaline, he becomes very physically strong for a short period of time. So physically strong that I think he would be able to shove a 256-pound man like Tyson Fury around when he gets that burst of adrenaline. Okay, if you look at the Gerald Washington fight, Gerald Washington, to me, looked like the stronger man in a lot of the clinches. Maybe not all of them, but in some of them, he looked like the stronger man. Certainly as strong as Wilder. But when Wilder got his burst of adrenaline, when he dropped Washington, Wilder was then able to throw Washington around like a rag doll. So be aware of that aspect of Deontay Wilder's physiology, that when he gets his burst of adrenaline, it increases his strength several fold. So anyway, let me stop longing this out. I'm saying the fight goes long. Wilder gets more dangerous as it goes on. Tyson Fury may be ahead on points on most people's scorecards. But ultimately, I think the most likely scenario is Deontay Wilder stops Tyson Fury late, or he wins a decision. I wouldn't be surprised at a draw. I wouldn't be surprised at a controversial win on the cards for Wilder. But the more I think about it, the more I weigh up the styles, the more I weigh up the scenario. It's not just about thinking about the fight. It's about thinking about the scenario. As I mentioned earlier, if this is a low volume fight where it's nip and tuck and there's not much to separate either man, maybe Fury lands a couple extra jabs in a round and everyone says, oh, that's Fury's round. Are the judges going to be seeing it like that if all he did was land 2 or 3 extra jabs? Are they going to be favoring the hometown guy, Wilder, who's got this Showtime backing finally? Who they're trying to market and sell as an American heavyweight champion, somebody that the whole country should get behind, harkening back to the days of Tyson and Holyfield and Ali, etc. In a nip and tuck fight, in a low volume fight, are the judges going to favor Tyson Fury? If the rounds are open to it, you see like Kovalev Ward, the first fight, a lot of those rounds were relatively low volume where neither man was landing much clean. So I don't think Deontay Wilder has the boxing skills of Tyson Fury, but what he does have is tremendous athleticism. And if Fury is not as sharp as he was against Klitschko, and I don't think he's going to be, he's nearly 10 pounds heavier than he was against Klitschko, for one. Never mind all the effects that the layoff, the weight gain, the alcohol, the drugs, the depression would have had on his body. So I think Wilder's athleticism might be able to equal or overcome Tyson Fury's boxing skills, or nullify his boxing skills to a certain extent if Wilder boxes the way I think he's going to, by staying on the outside and being patient, maybe waiting for Fury to slow down a bit and then going in later on in the fight. So yeah, I ultimately see Wilder winning the fight, late stoppage or points, maybe controversial, maybe a draw, something like that. But if I had to pick one outcome, I would say Deontay Wilder points. Now, could Tyson Fury win? Of course he could. The bookmakers' odds are close for a reason, for good reason. Deontay Wilder really, skills-wise, he's not on Fury's level. So, of course Fury could win. And if Fury does win, people need to give him the full credit. And it's difficult because Fury's calling Deontay Wilder a bum all the time. He's kind of doing what Muhammad Ali used to do. Muhammad Ali used to call people bums all the time. But it's important, if you are a Fury fan, that you don't call Deontay Wilder a bum, because it's going to take away from Fury's victory. You know? If this is such a great victory for Fury, it's because he's fighting a good champion. If he's fighting an absolute joke of a champion, then why, and Fury wins, then why are you celebrating? Do you understand? What is he achieved? He just beat some joke of a champion? How is that an achievement? Whereas I take the view that no, Wilder is not a joke of a champion. He's actually a very dangerous. I'm not saying he has proved himself to be an all-time great or anything like that, Deontay Wilder. Definitely not so far. But I do see him as a dangerous champion, a long-reigning champion. And even though he hasn't proved himself to be historically great yet, given what Tyson Fury's been through, him managing to beat Wilder at this stage would be a tremendous achievement when taken in context. A historically great achievement. And Tyson Fury needs a massive amount of respect and a massive amount of props if he pulls this off. So, yeah. But that's my prediction. And as far as predictions go in general, I'm sure there are going to be people who vehemently disagree with my prediction. Oh, you're crazy, Hatman. Oh, you're stupid. How could you say Wilder wins on points? Listen, there are boxing trainers out there, some of the greatest trainers of all time, like Manny Stewart, RIP. Many other trainers. There are Hall of Fame fighters. People who have far more boxing experience than me and you. People who have far more boxing knowledge than me and you, like the late Manny Stewart. And these people got predictions wrong multiple times. So, how on earth you can run around acting like you're some kind of boxing Nostradamus, ridiculing everybody's predictions every time, is beyond me. If you're such a Nostradamus, go and put your life savings on every single boxing match that you watch. Since you act like you're incapable of getting predictions wrong, go and do that and you'll be a millionaire within a couple months. Just go and do that and show us your millions in a YouTube video, since you're infallible. And I'm just talking to people in general. I'm not talking to anybody specific. I'm just talking about the people that pop up in the comment section angry at your prediction. Look, none of us are Nostradamus. None of us know for certain what's going to happen in the fight. So stop ridiculing people's predictions beforehand. All right. Particularly in a fight like this, when there's so many questions. If it was a case of, Vladimir Klitschko when he fought Alex Leopai, and some people are picking Leopai to wipe Klitschko out, okay, I can understand why you're mocking people who would be making that prediction. But when you've got a guy in Fury who's been through what we know he's been through, Wilder who's been active, bookmakers have got the fight very close, odds-wise. This is not a fight where you need to be ridiculing people's predictions. There are people out there picking Fury by KO. I'm not ridiculing them. It could happen. It could happen. Some people are picking Fury by KO in the mid-rounds. I'm not ridiculing them. Because it is one of them kind of fights where there are a lot of questions. And I'm not sure about a lot of things. So, anyway, be that as it may, that's my prediction, people. Is Deontay Wilder to win the fight on points. If there is a stoppage in favor of Wilder, I reckon it'll probably be late. Yeah, when Fury slows down a little bit. If Fury wins the fight, I'm expecting him to win it probably on points. I'm not dismissing the possibility of him winning by knockout, but I think Wilder's got a much better chance of winning by knockout than Fury has. Yeah. So if it's a knockout, it'll be Wilder, I think. I'm picking Wilder on points anyway. But Fury, if he does win, it'll be a points victory. And a scenario where Fury wins, he's going to have to absolutely clown Wilder from start to finish. Wilder is going to have to get it so wrong tactically, because he is an athletic guy. If Wilder wants to stay away, he can stay away. If Fury then decides, okay, he's staying away from me, let me put my hands up like I did against Cunningham and come forward and look for him, he's going to walk onto Wilder's shots. You see? So, yeah, if Fury wins the fight, in my mind, it's going to be a case of him bringing Wilder in, getting Wilder to come at him, and then just teeing off. Jabs all over the place, right hands, lots of head movement, throwing off Wilder's timing and range and distance, and just showboating, laughing at him, and making it very clear and obvious that Deontay Wilder's getting clowned and losing. That's the scenario where I see Tyson Fury winning on points. But yeah, I'm not picking that outcome. I think the most likely is Wilder to win. So anyway, drop your comments in the comment section below, and drop your predictions in the comment section below as well. I am going to do a poll on this fight. and the poll will probably already be up by the time I've uploaded this video. So get voting on the poll, and I'll maybe do a separate video about the results of the poll just before the fight. All right, so yeah, let me know how you feel, people. It's happening. I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.